All right, let's talk about angles. So this is actually kind of for the next two worksheets, or the kind of two different things, because there's a lot to do with angles, and we got to start with the basics, even though hopefully you've got some of that already. So first of all, hopefully you guys know an angle is literally just when two lines connect at a vertex. The angle is what's in the middle. This is an angle. And it's measured in degrees. You know, and hopefully you know a full circle, 360 degrees. So everything's kind of measured off that. Full rotation is 360, so just part way through, that's obviously less than 360 degrees. So there's three types of angles, and these are things that you should hopefully have heard of already. Acute, it's tiny, it's cute, it's less than 90 degrees. So that's an acute angle, this is an acute angle, and I could draw acute angles all day. So right means exactly 90 degrees. You gotta have that. You gotta have this box. If you don't have it, it's not 90 degrees, basically. It could be 89.99 degrees or 90.26 degrees, but if it's not there, it's not exactly 90. And then we got the obtuse angle, which is larger than 90 degrees. And then usually we say less than 180 because we don't want to get weird angles when we're doing this, because then you just measure from the other side. So anything bigger than that box, anything bigger than a corner, is an obtuse angle. These are things that I'm pretty sure you've heard of before. So the next things, before we get too far into this, is how do we label angles? So let's just say I gave you this mess and I called this W T R H, and this middle part is H. I did H already. Okay, F. So angles are labeled by 3 points unless someone has been nice enough to number them for you. Points, and the middle letter or the point is the vertex, which is the corner. So basically, if I want to talk about this angle right here, I would name that angle, and you put the little angle symbol here, R, F, H. So what that tells people is you start at R, you go to F, you go to H. That's the angle you're looking for. Right? If I wanted to obviously talk about, I say obviously a lot. I don't know why. If I'm looking for this angle here, it would be angle WFT. Or TFW. It doesn't really matter. It's just which direction do you go. So you label angles with the little angle symbol and by 3 points. Now, if I wanted to know, if I said this angle was exactly 87 degrees, this is where you've got to label it a little bit differently. That's where you put this M here. But that M stands for is measure. equals 87 degrees. So whenever you have a number, you need that m there for measure, because that's telling us that literally you've measured it and you know exactly how many degrees that it is. If you don't have that m, then it does not count. Alright, so some vocab words, and the only reason really for these vocab words is just that they're going to be used in word problems or when people are speaking about things, and if you don't know what they mean, then there's like no way for you to actually do the problem because you don't even know what they're talking about. It's like if I started talking to you in a different language, like I don't know, Wie geht es Ihnen? German. If you don't even know what I'm saying, how can you respond, right? So, first word you're going to have to know are adjacent angles. And hopefully you know what the word adjacent means. Adjacent means next to. So literally these are just angles next to each other. They share a middle side. So it's almost just like you draw one big angle and then there's a line between them. So, hey look, there's an angle. If I wanted to be adjacent next to it, I'd slide right up next to it into its DMs and then we'd be together. So these are adjacent angles. They're right next to each other and they share that middle side. Middle side. So that's all adjacent angles are. Literally two angles next to each other, and then if you took out that middle angle, they combine to make one larger angle. This is the one that you're probably going to need to know the most, because it's going to come up in a bunch of later chapters. Adjacent angles, not so much, just in case they say they're adjacent, but vertical angles, you're going to have to know. They're across from each other. They form an X, or, and by or, I mean or, not of, or two V's. And here is the most important part of this. They are congruent. And hopefully you remember that congruent means they're exactly the same, which makes sense. If I draw two X's, or two angles, if you measured this one, it's the same as this one. If this is 43 degrees, then this is 43 degrees. So those are vertical. These top ones are also vertical. And these would be like 137 degrees and 137 degrees. So they could be across from each other horizontally. They could be across from each other vertically. It doesn't matter. So just vertical angles. The important thing to know is that they are congruent, because you're going to do a lot of math with that. A linear pair. So a pair means two, so it's two angles. They form a line. So literally it's, you got a straight line and two angles. So if I call this angle 1 and this angle 2, angle 1 and angle 2 are a linear pair. So they just form a straight line. Which, interestingly enough, I forgot to give you a vocab word. I just realized, because this is going to confuse people if they look at this later. Less than 90, exactly 90. larger than 90, less than 180. I forgot to say what comes after that. I'll just do this. Straight angle. It's a line. It's exactly 180 degrees. So a straight angle is a line. It's straight, and it's 180 degrees. All right. Bloop. Something like that. Looks kind of fuzzy, and I've got to speak faster. All right. Bisect. Bi means two, like bicycle has two wheels. Sect means sections. Bisect means to cut exactly in half. Two sections. Really, the important thing to know about bisecting is if I bisected something, both halves are exactly the same. Which is the definition of half, but you know. And definition of bisect would come up a lot if we were doing proofs, which I'm not sure we are doing this year just because, like I said, depend on how fast we go. Intersect. To cross or meet. So two lines intersect if they cross. Alright, two more, and then we can actually get into some, you know, math of, you know, with numbers and stuff. Not just me talking a bunch. Complementary angles. Two angles that add up to 90 degrees. Supplementary. Two angles that add up to 180 degrees. So you've got to be able to tell between these two. And so a couple ways that I've remembered it throughout the years, you know, is it's alphabetical. C before S, 90 before 180 degrees. The other way of remembering it is a P90, which is a gun, or there's also P90X, which is an exercise program. Basically, complementary has one P, so it's 90. Supplementary has two P's, so it's 180. Whatever you want to do. You can memorize this in any way that you want. I think I'm going to stop there just with these definitions, and I'll do a separate video with all of the actual math, just because this one has taken a long time. So, you could do the parts of the worksheets that have to do with just the definitions, and then we'll get to the rest in a minute.